Now, the type of red zinfandel you use at dinner depends on what taste you're going for and what you pair it with. And to show us the differences is wine expert Rod Crawford. Rod, thank you for joining us today. Now, real quick, I assume automatically that our viewing audience is much smarter than I am, because let's take a step back to the zinfandel, because I know about white zinfandel.
Right.
What's the difference between white zinfandel and red zinfandel then?
So we can start off with a little history.
Okay.
Red zinfandel was brought here in the 1800s by Italian immigrants. And if you fast forward, they were making a dry red wine from it, which was great. Fast forward to 1975, Sutter Home was making red zinfandel. They used to take a little bit of that juice and make a dry rosé. Well, in 1975, they had what's called a stuck fermentation, and so they ended up with a sweet wine by accident.
Oh.
And that's how white zinfandel was born. So we call it white zinfandel. It's a pink wine. It's a sweet wine.
You said a stuck fermentation?
So the yeast died before all the sugar was fermented out of the wine.
Oh.
And so he decided to release the wine, and America loved it because America kind of has a sweet palate. And so it kind of diminished red zinfandel for a long time.
Yeah.
And then finally, people started to rediscover red zinfandel. So like in the 90s, people started to rediscover this as a really good, dry, bold red wine.
Okay.
And it's kind of ebbed and flowed a little over time, but it's really making a comeback right now, and people are interested in it again, which is cool.
Yeah,
because it's kind of a uniquely American grape.
All right, well, it's got a lot of great smells here to it.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that we can pair it with here?
So red zin is, I love it with like smoked meats.
Okay.
I love it with stews. Some of your lighter styles are great, even just with like pizza and burgers and
so more hearty type meals.
More hearty type
is what
foods.
Goes with. Okay.
And you know, Thanksgiving's coming up. I know we often think about the turkey, but there's so many big flavors in a traditional turkey Thanksgiving dinner. Red zinfandel goes great with that too.
All right, well, tell us what you brought here and
Sure.
what we're going to try today.
So this first wine I love to talk about. It's Ridge Vineyards, and they have been making zinfandel since 1962. So they have been, really a big proponent of the grape for a long time. I would call this the more traditional style of red zinfandel. It's 100% zinfandel. And they make a lot of single vineyard style, so they're really into it. But this really shows off kind of like the jammy, bold red and black fruits. So you're getting like raspberry, black cherry, cassis, and then they age this in new American oak, and so it gives it a little bit of a spicy quality to it, almost like a little bit of a pepperiness to it.
Okay.
So give it a little taste. Not like white zin at all.
No, I mean, it's definitely more, because like you said, when you drink that white zin for the first time, it's very sweet, but this is definitely, it's fuller and a little bit more, I don't know what, again, I don't have the words for the wine experts, but a little bitey. Almost.
Yeah, it's got some tannin to it, it's got some spice to it. So
now you got some other ones here that have some age to them as well, including one they have aged in a bourbon barrel, I saw. Yeah,
so I wanted to bring some different styles. So this one is, this one's a really interesting story. It's by, it's a winery called Oren Swift. The winemaker's Dave Finney. I credit him recently with bringing back the excitement about zinfandel, because he just released this wine called 8 Years in the Desert. He hadn't made a red zin in 8 years.
Oh, cool.
And so it really came out to a lot of fanfare. He represents the new traditional style. It's a very, very extracted, jammy, kind of high alcohol style.
Oh, okay.
And then this one, the Federalist, I brought it because this demonstrates the innovation that's going on with winemaking and red zinfandel, because they took this wine and they put it in used bourbon barrels. We all know bourbon's very hot right now.
Yeah.
But so they age it for 6 months in used bourbon barrels. So that wine actually pulls some of the caramel and a little bit of the bourbony flavor into the wine.
Give it a little bit more of that sweet undertones in a way?
A little bit of a sweet undertone and just that additional layer of that kind of caramely, bourbony kind of flavor to it.
Right.
So there's some different styles. And they're all great with those kinds of foods.
All right, well, Rod, thanks for being here and educating us on zinfandels, especially red zinfandels today.